Hello everyone, in this video I will guide you through creating this beautiful toon-shaded model. This tutorial will be divided into three parts: modeling, coloring, and finally how I created the water shader with animation. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you run into any issue, just drop a comment below. I will do my best to help. So without further ado, let's dive in. Let's start by creating a cylinder. Change its radius to 0.5 and in the edit mode, add a loop cut by pressing Ctrl plus R. In the number of cut section, change it to 40. This will give us enough vertices to work with. Now add an armature to the scene and in the properties, go to the data tab. Under the viewport display, change the display to B bone and check the show in front box. This will make the bones always show in front of objects. Go to the edit mode and shorten the bone length so that it sits at the bottom of the cylinder. Next, extrude the bone to the very top of the cylinder. Then extrude another short bone on top of it. Now scale the top and the bottom bones by pressing Ctrl Shift Alt plus S. Here the top bones will work as the controller of the bendy bone. I also renamed the bones, which can easily be done by pressing F2 in the keyboard. Changing the bone names isn't required, but it helps later to navigate. Select the middle bone and go to the Bone Properties tab. Under the bendy bone section, change the number of segments to 32. Keep in mind that the more segments you add, the smoother the bend will be. And the max number of segments you can go up to is 32. But if you want to take it even further, you can subdivide the middle bone and add a constraint to it also. Now switch to pose mode. With middle bone selected, go to the bone constraint tab. Add a stretch to constraint. In the target option, select the armature and for the bone section, choose the controller bone. This will cause the middle bone to stretch toward the controller bone, allowing for smooth and natural bending. Again, go to the bendy bone section, set the start handle to absolute and select the base bone as a start handle. For the end handle, set it to absolute and choose the controller bone as the end handle. This will let you rotate and control the bending with controller. Now we won't be able to stretch the bone without disconnecting the controller bone. So for that, go to edit mode and while controller bone is selected, press Alt P and select disconnect and clear parent. To move the cylinder with armature, select the cylinder and while shift selecting the armature, hit Ctrl plus P and select with automatic weight. Now snap the cursor to the controller bone. To do this, first select the controller bone, then right click. Go to the snap section and choose cursor to select it. This allows you to precisely position the cursor at the location of selected object. With cursor at the controller bone, add an empty object. Select the controller bone in pose mode and give it a copy transform constraint. Set the target to empty object. You may need to rotate the empty object 90 degree in y-axis. After that, model the middle part of the flower and a leaf. I created the middle part using a sphere and scaling the bottom part of it. And the leaf is just a subdivided plane. After modeling the leaf, add a displacement modifier to it and create a new displacement texture. In the texture tab, change the type to distorted noise. In the Modify tab, set the extent to low and apply the modifier. With that being done, duplicate it around the middle. Here, if you want to make it similar to mine, change the pivot point to 3D cursor. Then duplicate the leaf and press Z to lock axis. Press R to rotate and in the numpad, type 60. This will rotate the duplicated leaf to 60 degrees. Then press enter to confirm. Now you can repeat the same process. Or, if you haven't pressed anything else yet after confirming the rotation, you should be able to press Shift plus R to repeat the previous step. It will duplicate a new leaf with same rotation applied. Okay, now select the cylinder and add a triangular modifier and apply it. This will triangulate all the faces. After that, go to the edit mode and from select menu choose select random. From select random option, choose action to deselect and increase the ratio. Here random deselect will only work if vertices are selected. So make sure all the vertices are selected. Go to face select mode and use Ctrl plus to select more faces around. After that, extrude the selected faces inside by pressing Alt plus E and extrude along normal. After it is done, exit out of the edit mode and use shade smooth. You can also add another level of subdivision if you want the details to pop more. After that, you are free to add more details to your model, or you can follow my approach and make some minor adjustments. Once you are satisfied, select all the leaves and parent them to the middle part of the flower. Then parent the middle part to the empty object. Also, you can use solidify modifier to the leaves and add thickness to them. Details like this aren't necessary for toon-shaded models because most of the details will be covered up when you use solid color for coloring. Snap the cursor to the base bone and add an empty object at the location. Then lock the base bone to the empty object using a constant, just like we did for the controller. For the rock, add a cube and give it a subdivision modifier with 4 subdivision level. Now, add a displacement modifier to it, and for the texture, use Voronoi texture. In modifier, lower the strength, and in texture, change the size for the level of details. Now that it's done, we need to lower the vertices count so that it looks more stylized. For the sharp edges, add a bevel modifier and set the type of it to parts. With this, basic shape for the rock is done. Now you can change the shape of the rock easily in edit mode. If it seems your blender gonna crash, then I think it's best to lower the subdivision level before you go into edit mode or make any more changes. For the tree, you can scale the flower part with top empty object. For the thickness of the tree trunk, scale the armature, and for the whole tree, scale the bottom empty object. Now put all the tree objects to a collection and duplicate it around the same. Also, even though I've been calling it a tree, I still don't know if I should be calling it a flower or tree or maybe both. I also added extra objects to fill up the scene. For the coloring, I used hand-painted textures to give the model a unique look. The shader nodes I used are quite simple. The image texture is plugged into both color and emission properties of the principal BSDF. This method is straightforward and effective, but it can be time consuming, especially if you are working on a large project or aiming for detailed textures. To keep the video small, I will be speeding the process until we reach the water shader part. Before we dive in, make sure the Node Wrangler add-on is installed and enabled in Blender. This will make your workflow much faster and more efficient. Also use the same value I used if you want to achieve similar result. Keep in mind that this value can vary depending on the size of the objects in your scene. Let's start with water ripple. First, add a color ramp and a color attribute node. For the color attribute, go to the Data tab and create a new color attribute. Then switch to vertex paint mode and paint black around the areas where the foam will be. Next, select or type in the color attribute we just created. If you plug it to the color ramp, you will be able to see the painted areas. We are going to create black and white texture like this because the factor value in any mix node or texture node takes value of either 0 or 1. In this context, we represent 0 as black and 1 as white. For the noise texture, switch to 3D to 4D, which adds an extra property called W. In the W value, type hash frame divide 300. This will slow down the animation by 300 times the speed of the scene. For example, if you typed hash frame divide 1, the animation would have been faster. Once that's done, frame the nodes together by pressing Ctrl plus J. You can also name the frame with F2, just like we do with objects or bones. For the wave effect, I used a color ramp and noise texture. Then I used another noise texture to distort the noise. When adding multiple nodes, always try to keep them organized by either grouping them or placing them inside a frame. For the sparkle texture, I used a Borneo texture combined with a simple noise texture to randomize the placement of the dots. Now that all three textures are done, we can start with the coloring. I used a noise texture with color ramp to add spots to the solid color. With the base ready, add two more noise textures in a similar way to introduce variation in the color. Make sure that all noise textures have different values. After mixing all noise textures with solid color, add mapping nodes to all the textures and distort the value of the mapping vector using a noise texture as the factor. With the watercolor now complete, all that's left is to multiply the watercolor with all three textures. If you want the white parts to glow in final render, mix the emission shader with the final color using the combined value of all three textures as spectrum. If you did like to see exactly how I did this in my project, you can download the project file for free from description and check out the shader setup there. After completing the water shader, here is the final view of the scene. I added a few extra elements to enhance the overall look. For example, the glow light you see is created using a normal emission shader plugged into a volume, with the color driven by a color ramp knob. I also added some simple grass, which is made by applying image texture to a basic plane. If you are interested, I can make a separate video tutorial on how to create the toon-shaded grass with animation. Just let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps me motivated to create more content like this. Plus, you will be fast to know I upload new tutorials. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. Your support means a lot.